Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And this is another one of our Boys and Ghouls film reviews, ready and ready willing. And just so you guys know, before we begin, that we didn't make any sacrifices to the gods, but except for the animals we dislike, except for the ones we don't like our
I'll
cat.
sacrifice you in a minute.
Like our cat, Amanda here.
Oh, I got a little pussycat here. Our old pussycat.
Yes.
She is a blue tortoiseshell, very aloof. She is sniffing her microphone at the moment, but she won't say much.
Yeah, she's not a very big talker.
No, she's
I'm sad to say.
Big eater.
Anyway, tonight we'll be reviewing that Mel Brooks movie titled Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
Yeah, there was a 1995 gothic comedy horror film. Now, having said that, I like just about anything that Mel Brooks does. He's bent. No. He's a very, very smart guy. He produces, he directs, he writes music, he acts. He does a whole lot. I mean, you've got to admire the guy. Now, whether it's a great movie or a good movie,
or a TV series,
or a TV series like Get Smart, or so, or what's the Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Oh, When Things Were Rotten.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
When
Things Were Rotten.
Yeah, and Robin Hood Men in Tights one, obviously.
He did all these great things, and some people forget how talented the man is.
Yeah, and his comedy is slightly different from any other I have seen.
Yeah, sometimes a bit left of centre, but then you either like it or don't like it. And this is one of the movies that some people, well, a lot of people didn't like. It didn't fare great at the
box office.
The box office. I'll talk about it a bit later on. But I think it's a case that there were some references to Young Frankenstein. Now, Young Frankenstein was a slightly different type movie. It was funnier. Now, this being a gothic horror comedy thingy, well, I think Young Frankenstein fall in that same category, but this follows the Bram Stoker's, the 1930 whatever, Dracula one that Bela Lugosi was in. Reasonably closely, a few deviations thereof, but they tried to keep it along those lines. They didn't camp it up too much, hence it wasn't quite as funny as Young Frankenstein. So, anyway, we're moving right along.
Yeah, interesting thing about this movie, it takes the piss,
it's a parody,
out of
the
Bela Lugosi type Dracula movie.
It doesn't take the piss, it's a parody of it.
Okay, but it does make fun of...
You shouldn't say take the piss. Some people out there might like it saying take the piss all the time.
Okay, sorry. It's just that Mel Brooks makes it a habit in some movies or TV shows where he would take something like Spaceballs, like they take Star Wars or Star Trek, and then he would go ahead and try to make it his own version of it with a bit of a twist on it.
And he's not shy of being in the movies himself.
No.
Unlike some people say, oh, so I feel better behind the camera. He doesn't mind. He gets up the front there. He's been in just about, I don't know about every movie, but a lot of movies I've seen, Robin Hood Men in Tights, he played a rabbi. He was in the History of the World Part 1 or whatever. And did he have one or two roles or three roles? I can't remember now.
Several.
He had several roles. He played a caveman. He played the King of France. He played something else. Yeah, he loves acting. He writes music. He's a very talented man.
And he also did an Alfred Hitchcock style movie called High Anxiety.
High Anxiety, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, where he took a bit of the peevish.
He took the pee out of several Hitchcock movies. He's got great insight, this guy. But anyway, having said that, this movie didn't fare quite so good at the box office. However, it may well have done better on home media.
Maybe it was just bad timing, I think.
There could have been other things out as well.
Considering that at the same time, there was a bit of a snippet from Bram Stoker's Dracula slipped into it to make a parody.
It's a parody of the original movie, and they put a couple of things in which reference to Bram Stoker's Dracula of Gary Oldman, yada yada.
Didn't you say something interesting to me just a while ago, not too long ago, about how you said something about another Dracula movie that he may have based his filming around it? I don't know, can't catch it.
I got it in my notes here. there were several movies. Okay. Here we go. It was based loosely on the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula movie. Mm-hmm. However, they did borrow a few little things from The Fearless Vampire Killers, which is 1967, I think,
slip my teeth
and
in
Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992.
See.
Also, just I normally talk about this sort of stuff later. He tried to do it in a reminiscent style of the way Hammer horror films used to be made. Hammer were a production company in the UK.
See?
And he tried to emulate that a little bit.
A little.
Yeah, let's say, yeah. Anyway, irrespective.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. Produced by Mel Brooks, directed by Mel Brooks, story by
Mel Brooks.
Rudy DeLuca and Steve Haberman,
Yeah, Mel Brooks.
screenplay by Rudy DeLuca, Steve Haberman, and Mel Brooks. So the other guys wrote the story. When a screenplay came down to being put together, Mel put his touch on it to make it funny. Whatever. Now, the budget. About 30 mil to make the movie, only made about 11 million at the box office. Now, it doesn't mean it's a bad movie, it just didn't appeal to a lot of people's taste, or they were expecting something a lot more funnier.
Yeah.
Don't know, and maybe the
latter.
And maybe the reviews didn't inspire people to go see it.
Yeah. When I was little, I thought it was scary, but I was a little
funny.
And I didn't see the original Bela Lugosi version until I got a little older.
Yeah.
And even my sister was addicted to this movie.
She liked Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Well, he's not as hot as any other vampire Dracula
but
movie I've seen.
She saw Leslie Nielsen in Forbidden Planet. And she thought, he's hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when he did serious acting.
Yeah, anyway, I just mean that the other Draculas I've seen over the years come off as more good looking or better at appearing to be like Dracula.
There was the one in the one where he went to America looking for his girlfriend.
I know which one you're referring
George
to.
Hamilton.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, George Hamilton. He played a pretty good one. He looked like a waiter. Head waiter. He's tuxedo on. Yeah.
Go on, you're saying.
Anyway, let's just roll on to the cast.
Yes, let's do.
Okay, Leslie Nielsen has pride of place as Count Dracula. Mel Brooks, Professor Van Helsing. And why not? Okay, Peter McNichol plays Thomas Renfield, and I must admit, I do like the way Peter handled his role.
Yeah.
He comes over as a loon. He's really good.
And he kind of works that similar angle as the original one that Bela Lugosi style.
But that's based on the original movie.
I know, I'm just saying.
Why? Okay, we've already covered that. It's a parody of the first movie.
I know, but it was kind of clever how he was able to do it, even down to the squeaky, funny laugh.
Yeah, well, he's a loon. Peter McNichol's a good actor. Anyway, Stephen Webber plays Jonathan the Harker. A prim and proper, wonderful man, blah, blah, blah. And I recognised him. He was in the TV version, miniseries of The Shining. He played the what's that?
The father.
The father, yeah. What's his? Yeah. He was in the main other movie. What's it called? Jack Nicholson. He played a Jack Nicholson role in an Italian movie. Yeah. Amy Yazbek plays Mina Seward. Hey, wasn't she in Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Yes, she was, and she also was in the Mask with Jim Carrey in it.
Was she?
Yeah, she played an ordinary reporter. You know, you would have not known her, noticed her, compared to the Jessica Rabbit character that was playing alongside her.
Yeah, whatever. Jessica Rabbit.
I mean, well, I wasn't saying Jessica Rabbit. I mean, the character that was playing the lady.
Yes, okay. Right, here we go. Okay. Lizette Anthony plays Lucy Western. And Harvey Korman, he gets around these movies too sometimes. He's very popular. Dr. Seward. I won't go about anybody else. And there's a fair bit roles and whatever and stuff and things like that. Well, having said that, and a good cast, probably good crew. He's probably used them before. And I think the movie works. So, without further ado, do you want to take it away, Grizzly?
Might as well. So, the story begins where Renfield, our tropic traveller, has gone off to Transylvania, a.k.a. Romania, and in order to have Dracula sign over his new lodgings in England. Carfax.
He got He's bought Carfax Abbey, an old ruin.
Yes. That makes two of us.
Three of us.
Anyway, he's warned by the locals to stay away from that
The
place.
village people think they're vampires and werewolves.
Who believes
Who listens to village people anyway?
I think that Elvira said that was hilarious.
He did, that's quite good, that.
Anyway, an old lady approaches him saying, "Take this cross, my son." I love that weird
That
thing
was
she
Anne
does.
Bancroft, I think, too.
Yeah, I love that thing what she does with her friend, like that.
Yeah, and then be 15 kopecks.
Yeah,
She tries
and she
to
says,
give it, she sold it to
and
him.
she says, "Thank you." And then she closes the door, and then we hear it again.
It's not that funny, okay?
I know, but it's
Will
hilarious.
you get on with it, please? These people want to actually hear the story.
So, Renfield heads to the castle, and he notices right away it's strange. If not the weird cobweb where Dracula walks through it and he doesn't.
Yeah, he gets stuck in it. Actually, it must be silly string or something they used because they got all over him and he couldn't get through it.
And how Dracula tries to play the swift suave, but actually falls down the stairs after tripping on some bat poo.
Bat poo, yes.
And if
Listen to them, my children are denied.
What a mess they make.
And he slips over on bat poo.
and
Well,
his
there he
weird
is.
shadow who continues to do
Oh yeah,
weird
Shadow
stuff.
does other things. You got to watch in the background. Dracula's doing one thing, but Dracula's shadow's doing another.
That's an ongoing
rude
thing, which is
sometimes.
clever.
Yeah.
That's an ongoing joke throughout this movie, which is hilarious. And I applaud Mel Brooks' use of it. Anyway, they then go over to Dracula's office. They sign over the deeds and stuff like that. And then Renfield gets a paper cut. And it's like a lot of...
Yeah, it's like you cut a jugular vein. It's squirting all over the place.
Yeah, like
Hello.
a squirt tomato sauce bottle. Squirt, 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 all over the place. It's disgusting, but funny. Yeah. Then we cut to Renfield sleeping, and these two vibrant, vivacious Dracula brides.
2 or 3.
Two.
Oh, yeah, right.
And they tried to seduce dear old Renfield.
And he was in for it. He was up for it.
Of course, Dracula scolds both wives like they were two of his daughters, telling them, "What is going on here? You think this makes me proud of you? Now go, because I want to make him my slave." And they float like they're on a...
And when I'm finished, you can have him later. Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen.
He said that.
No, it does
He
not.
did. He said that.
That was a different movie.
He said that. Yeah, never once
No,
it's
he
finished.
didn't. He says he wants them to go, and so he can make him his slave. And that's it. He then scolds them for floating like they were on a treadmill
And
or
then just
something.
walked out like normal. Yeah.
And then so he makes Renfield his slave. I won't go into details about that. And tells him that he'll be given lives, but not big lives, insects, spiders, the whole shebang, whatever. And so...
I could go on there.
What's that?
No, I won't. I'll take us off the air. Okay.
So anyway, they head onto the boat, and it's a rocky start, I should say.
Yeah.
Where his coffin swings back and
Forward,
forth.
yeah, it
like-
comes loose, it's flying
I'm
over
amazed
forward.
Dracula didn't get seasick.
Or severely hurt. They could have killed him.
Yeah,
Oh, he was there,
eventually
wasn't he?
dear old Renfield appears, and he straps down the coffin, and he then makes attempt on eating some of the crew.
He has a snack. And needless to say, following in the true steps of the original story, there was no one left on board the boat.
Except for
Renfield, a raving lunatic.
Yeah, and he gets sent to the asylum. That puts an end to his part of the story.
Sort of.
Moving on, we cross over to the opera, where Mina Jonathan Harker, and Lucy
Westerner.
and Mina's dad, Dr. Seward, are both all meeting up for the opera to listen
Actually,
to
it's
nice music.
Westenra, not Westerner. Westenra.
It's okay, sorry.
Who would make a name up like that for crying out
Anyway,
loud?
I'll stick to the first names, knowing you guys want
Yeah,
it.
Lucy's easy. Oh, I love Lucy. No.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Anyway, Dracula tries to get one of the stewards or
Stewards.
stewards
Oh, no, it's not a steward lady. Yeah.
to deliver a message to Dr. Seward.
You want to get the steward to go to Mr. Seward, Dr. Seward.
But unfortunately, the message doesn't go through, so he then has to deliver it himself. So he makes his introductions to John Seward and Jonathan and Mina and Lucy. And he's taken by Lucy hook, line, sinker. And
It went bad.
yes. And later that night, I think, I'm not sure, Lucy's getting undressed by her window, and Dracula is watching.
She looks hot.
Oh, yeah. And Dracula makes a point of visiting. And it's a funny visiting, I might add, where he ends up about to bite her, but then John and Stewart enter the room and think that there's prowler in her room. But, of course, there was no prowler there. And then they head out, and then John Stewart slams the door, and we see Mr. Dracula hanging from the ceiling, and he falls.
Yeah, he loses his grip. Yeah, a bit of slapsticky type stuff for poor old Dracula through this.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, he then drinks from Lucy, and it sounds like the way I drink from straw when I'm drinking Coke.
Yeah, when you or a milkshake when you get the last bit of it. Yeah. Bubble. Yeah, it was funny.
Next morning, Renfield is invited for tea to Dr. Seward's place, and he tries to be normal, if you can call it normal.
For Renfield?
But he continues eating bits and bugs and stuff.
He finds a beetle and a spider and then a grasshopper.
A grasshopper and some flies. And he couldn't control himself anymore, so soon enough, John Stewart sends him away and tells his orderly to put him in a straitjacket and give him an enema.
No, put it the other way around. Have him give him the enema first. Yes.
This is another ongoing joke in this movie, which is hilarious.
Well, give a sense of accomplishment. That was, I think, his line, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, for another inmate.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Interesting.
Lucy develops symptoms that resemble exhaustion,
And
tired,
anemia
and
other good groovy
other
things.
groovy stuff. And then, so John Stewart decides that even though he can't find anything to explain her symptoms, so he calls in Van Helsing, who is at the moment teaching his new
And
students.
he looks just like Mel Brooks, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it how he made all his students pass out during an autopsy on a dead body.
Yeah.
It's hilarious,
Yeah,
that
but
scene.
10 guys, it's 10 students, 10 people passed out the floor.
Yeah, and
Yeah, he's
it's
still got it.
I think he's just doing it just so he won't have any competition.
I know. It's fun making the newbies pass out.
Yeah, hilarious. Anyway, so he arrives, says that there are 3 puncture marks on Lucy's throat. Oh, wait, no, it's not.
No, cleans his monocle, says, no, 2.
2 puncture marks on her
Yeah.
throat. And then he says, "Gentlemen, we are about to face the realm of the supernatural."
We're dealing with vampires. Oh, really? In this day and age? Rah, rah, rah. These are rubbish to go through.
Yeah, and he says that now that Lucy is victim to one, she will become one herself.
And he said, what's that?
She will come one like herself. Type of thing.
Oh, okay.
I love it. And then he decides to go to the library to do a bit of research, and
He's looking for different books.
yeah, until he says, "Do we have Nosferatu?" And then John says,
Yes, we have Nosferatu. We have Nosferatu today.
yeah, like the song.
Yes, we have no bananas. Yeah.
Yes. And
Okay,
they find
it
out,
wasn't that funny. Carry on.
and they find out that the only way to protect Lucy is by
Eating
garlic.
bananas. No.
Garlic.
Oh, garlic. Sorry. Yeah.
It's close enough, but
Close
not.
enough.
Anyway, he thinks that will give the creature, repel the creature.
Well, a lot of people don't like garlic. It's have you ever sat next to somebody on a bus or in an office there who's been eating garlic and you're trying to breathe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So anyway, so they begin to pile the room up with garlic, a big amount of it, I should say.
Over the top, you know.
Over the top, like all over the bed, all over the window, all over the...
All over Lucy.
Well, not over Lucy, obviously.
Somewhere around her.
Yeah, so they tell her to be sure to have a good night's rest and think that will improve her health. But who would improve their health with that much garlic
Well,
in
if
the
I had that much
room?
garlic around, I'd go and make a bolognese sauce up or something,
Anyway, so she turns in, and as Dracula is about to make his next visit, he says, "Ooh, garlic."
He doesn't like it. He closed the window,
Yeah.
Pooh.
He then calls on to Renfield and asks him to remove the garlic from Lucy's room.
Yeah, what a good fellow he is.
Yeah, he has some interesting words in this, and he then pries the bars in Renfield's room open.
Yeah, he rips the bars. It bends all the bars, like Charles Atlas or something,
Yeah, and of course, as he's floating down to the ground, Renfield decides to follow by jumping out the window.
Well, you said, you don't fly. I do.
Yeah, Renfield is no brainer.
He's a knuckle. He's a no-brainer. That does not what it means, Sarah.
Okay,
Why do you say
he's an
things?
idiot.
He's an idiot, okay? A no-brainer means you don't have to think about something. He's just an idiot, okay?
Anyway,
You're
he heads
no-brainer.
into Lucy's room and starts taking a little bit of the garlic down. But while he's doing that, he then peers under Lucy's covers. And Lucy looks up, and we both hear both of them scream, and it's so funny watching Renfield scream like a girl.
He does. It's very good. I don't know. I couldn't do that.
And
I'm more of a beast.
Dracula says, "Renfield, you idiot."
Yeah.
And then Jonathan and Dr. Seward appear, and they grab Renfield there, and they get him dragged out by the orderly. How he got there?
Put him into his little cell.
And he says, "Give him another Emma, and then another one," meaning two more for good.
And good measure.
Until he comes to a
raw
senses.
pain in the bum, eh? Yeah.
Ouch. Anyway, they leave Lucy, who's completely parched by the smell of the garlic.
Parched?
Oh, not parched. Not parched. Find the garlic.
Stifling.
Stifling.
That's a good word for it.
Yes.
I
Anyway,
like stifling.
and then Dracula, using his compulsion, I think, was it compulsion? No, never mind. His hypnotic gesture, he orders Lucy to open the window and come to him. We could have done that. He could have done that before.
But no, he didn't need to.
Anyway, Mina witnessed Lucy being bitten and drained of her life, and the men appear, and they find out Lucy is dead. And Lucy, the next morning, is put into the grave, or put into a mausoleum, I think.
Yeah, mausoleum, creep, there.
Yeah, and later on, Van Helsing approaches Dr. Seward and tells him that you should take measures in guarding Lucy's grave in order to avoid another major disaster.
Dead.
But John Seward objects to this idea, thinks that Lucy was his ward, and that he doesn't think this is it's sacrilegious, the idea of going ahead and doing that.
Putting a stake through her heart. He said, there's only a couple of different ways to do it. Going stake in the heart, cut head off, cut her ears off, He just goes on.
And stuff the mouth with garlic.
And stuff the mouth with garlic.
I think that stuffing your mouth with garlic and chopping the head off would be some of the real alternatives to killing a vampire.
I think cutting the head off and the garlic in the mouth has been in some vampire lore, yes.
Yes.
And shown up
except for the ear part, obviously.
And cutting the ears off, well...
That was just Mel Brooks. Funny joke. Anyway, Van Helsing does eventually meet Dracula, and Dracula is just sending his regards to John Seward and Jonathan about how he's sad about that Lucy's passed away. But he's not miffed about it, considering what he's done.
You're going to see tonight.
Probably. Anyway,
whatever.
Of course,
Whatever.
throughout the scene, he and Van Helsing, they continue having this special secret ongoing joke where they continue having the last word in the scene.
Yes.
Where they say, "Bird story."
No, just don't go on with it, okay?
It's hilarious, this
scene.
scene.
Yeah, but don't try to say all the words, okay?
Anyway, but as Dracula leaves, Van Helsing suspects the vampire is still among them, and the fact that the identity of the vampire remains unknown, and Van Helsing suspects, or he thinks he suspects, or both, that it might be Count Dracula. But he continues getting weird with his theory.
They should have read the script. They would have known.
Yeah, he says that asks John Stewart, when did Dracula first appeared? And he says he appeared a few days ago, and Lucy's illness started it.
About the same time. Well,
meaning there's a connection, but we don't know that.
Aha.
Anyway, later that night, the grounds. What do you call that guy who was in the crypt with Lucy? I'm not sure.
Well, it could have been night watchman.
Okay, night watchman.
It could have been necrophiliac for all I know.
So the night watchman, he opens up Lucy's crypt because he hears her saying that she needs help getting out, and help me. Yeah, he opens it. She begs that she's cold, and then she jumps up and bites him. And this bit always scared me when I was a child. Even though this was supposed to be a comedy at the time, I was pretty scared whenever I think of this scene. Yeah. Anyway, Jonathan Harker makes the point of going to Lucy's grave and standing guard, as Van Helsing suggested earlier. Yes. And he feels that if he does not do anything, he'll feel like he'll be held accountable for it if he didn't do anything.
Whatever, yeah.
So he heads down there, and as he's sitting next to the crypt, he hears a woman's voice saying, Jonathan.
Whatever, yeah.
And then
that's rubbish.
And then Lucy appears before him and says that she wants him to come away with her.
Yes, but let's have some fun first.
Yes, of course, he says, I'm engaged to Mina, being the logical mind, but...
And you're dead.
And you're dead, technically.
Anyway.
But she continues to say that she wants to kiss him and take him away and stuff like that. But unfortunately, he's saying... He tries to be saying that he's not interested, but it doesn't stop her from trying to nibble his neck. And there,
she could nibble mine.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Van Helsing appears with his cross, saying, "To flee, you holy, you heinous monster."
And so he went back into a little tomb thing. Yeah.
And then we get the funny scene where Jonathan and Van Helsing head into the crypt and make a point of staking dear old Lucy in the heart. And this is where the funny bit comes along, where Jonathan is told to do it, even though he doesn't
want to. But there has to be someone who loves her.
I liked her.
I don't love her that much. Just like her a little bit. Yeah.
Close enough, according to Van Helsing. So Jonathan positions the stake over Lucy's heart. We think we can't really see from this angle, and Van Helsing he disappears behind a column, I think.
Yeah.
And Jonathan smashes the mallet into the stake.
And a big wave of blood squirts up out of the coffin,
like it was
he burst a balloon or something,
like a water sprinkler.
Yeah, and
he says, "There's so much blood," and she says, "He just ate."
She just ate, yeah.
And he knows that she's still alive, so he says, "Hit her again." And he says, "I can't." But he says, "How much blood can she have left?" I'll take it from a doctor, goodness gracious. So Jonathan whacks it again.
And just the same amount came up again, and he's covered in blood from head to foot. Yeah.
And then Van Helsing says, she's almost dead.
And he says, she's dead enough.
Throws the mallet down like it's so.
Yeah, right.
And Jonathan says, this is disgusting. And Van Helsing remarks, you're right, we should have put newspaper down. Like it was
look, you have to tell me every joke.
I think it's hilarious. And then we cross over to Mina, who's sleeping, and then we see Dracula appear, and he makes a point of making her into a vampire. And we get a funny scene where she wakes up, and she falls down in one bit, and it's a very hilarious, this scene. And it's really funny when there's a nursemaid, I think, near there. Etsy. Oh, that's another character that was in the...
we said it 3 or 4 times. That's the parody of the old movie.
I meant Betsy. The Betsy was also in the actor was also in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Was she?
Yes.
Well, okay.
Come on.
No, wait, you keep going back.
Anyway, back to the story. Will you shut up?
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah. So anyway,
2.5 years almost.
Will you shut up? Anyway, back to the story. Well, you keep your mouth shut.
I didn't say a word. I was going to.
Anyway, back to the story. They do a bit of a funny bit where both women jump up, sit down. It's hilarious, this bit.
He's trying to coordinate them outside the window. Mina, get out of bed. Come to the window. Like, yeah, come to the door. And she goes into the closet. Then says, no. Come out of the closet. Now, head towards the terrace door. Watch out for the footstool. She goes straight out of the footstool. And
he tells them, stand up.
And both of them stand up.
Not you, sit. Not you sit.
And then
stand.
They're going up and down, up and down. Yeah.
And then he says, you go back to the terrace door and you go back to sleep.
And they both walked into each other because they were both going the wrong directions. Yeah, and it was a good sight gag.
Yeah, and he ends up getting the wrong woman in the end.
He said, "Turn off the lights, and I'll come in and get you." He went there to grab her, and he came out with the maid instead of me. And he went back in there, dropped her on the floor or whatever, and grabbed me and came out.
That night, as they arrive at Carfax, and he says, "We'll do the dance of love." And then
that was the bad dance.
I love the dance.
I didn't know Leslie Nielsen could dance so well.
Well, not him. Imagine he did bits of the dances while a stuntman did his own version of the dance.
He might have.
Well, it happens a couple of times. Actors would change. They would either do some scenes, some of the dance scenes, and the ones where you do it from a long shot or a high shot, and you don't see their faces so much. And no one will question. They'll just leave it to the audience.
I like to think Leslie Nielsen can dance.
I have no doubt. Anyway, back to the story. So they dance, and it's an awesome dance. I thought some of it was pretty cool, and eventually he bites her.
Who wouldn't? Amy Yazbek is a beautiful looking lady. I'd bite her.
Yeah, and she jokes that no hickeys.
No hickey. Yes, that's quite funny. That.
Yeah, and then next morning we see Mina up and about, and she's like all seductive to Jonathan. And she's like all flirty and stuff.
Yeah, and very sexual.
And she even tries to press him to touch her boobs or touch her.
Do this, do that. Oh, we don't touch. I'll touch you instead. Yeah. And she's very flirty.
Yeah, and very touchy. That's the word.
Very touchy-feely, yeah. And anyway.
And Dr. Seward was very annoyed by their behaviour.
He saw Jonathan on his knees.
Touching a butt
and stuff, but she made him do it. Literally, she really made him do it. He didn't do it. She made him do it.
I think the audience out there gets the picture.
We're just saying, a guy, a female. Yeah. No, she did it. She's controlling him.
Yeah.
He's a weak-minded fool, this Jonathan Harker guy.
Van Helsing believes Jonathan that he would not be capable of such touchy-feely stuff and suspects that Mina is under some influence of sorts.
Alcohol? Cannabis? LSD?
No, something much more stronger than that. Vampire's influence, or the demon's influence within her. Anyway, which kind of takes away, certain not so logical-minded stuff when you think about it. Like what's not to do these days. In this case, do not touchy-feely stuff with like that sort of thing in public.
Why not?
Well, not really in public, in private too.
They've been engaged for 5 years, for crying out loud.
Well, he's still a doctor's assistant.
He's still engaged for 5 years, haven't touched anything.
Anyway.
Try before you buy,
Anyway, back to the story. Then Van Helsing, he pulls back she was wearing a scarf around her neck.
Oh, yeah, a nice long scarf. Very pretty, very elegant.
And he takes it off, and he sees that she's had 2 puncture marks on her throat.
Mosquitoes.
And she makes the excuse that she actually pinned a pin to her.
We're just trying to put a scarf on or something or other. Yeah. Sure.
Like, I haven't heard that 100 times in the past.
Where'd you get the hickey from? Oh, it must be a mosquito bite. Yeah, big mosquito. Yeah.
And then Van Helsing produces a little small crucifix into her hand, and it leaves a bit of a red... it leaves a very big bloody... Oh, not bloody, big, just a small burn mark.
Burn for crucifix. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now John Stewart's nerved that now Mina's going to be reaching the same fate as Lucy.
Bugger.
And they still don't know the identity of the vampire at this point. Stewart thinks it's Renfield, most likely, because Renfield bend the bars and eats insects like like they were just
like M&Ms and
M's.
stuff. Yeah.
Of course, Van Helsing has a logical idea. They decide to throw a ball in order to expose the vampire. Of course, John Stewart objects to this idea. He thinks that Lucy has been dead just a few days,
It's
and
inappropriate to have a ball.
And
she's not invited.
Yeah, true. But I think he means it's kind of a bad timing. But then again, what better timing to expose the vampire?
Exactly.
So, anyway, then eventually Dracula arrives and he's wearing his weird wig or hat.
Wig, wig, whatever.
Which is depicted from Bram Stoker's Dracula,
yeah.
Which is hilarious.
It's funny. It's rather well done.
Yeah, I like the scene where a lady approaches him saying, "May I take your cape?" And he says, "No, you may not take my cape.
You can take my hat.
So he takes it off and he hands it to her, and she's giving an odd look like giving a hairball.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dracula then asks Jonathan if he could dance with Mina, who's wearing this beautiful green gown that matches her hair to a T. For the role. She
has a sort of orangey brown hair.
Yeah, orangey red hair.
I wouldn't say a redhead, but she's very, very beautiful hair. And, it's still great.
Yeah,
really good.
Of course, Van Helsing kind of kicks Jonathan to allow Dracula to dance with her, and of course, ouch.
But there's a trick. They had this big mirror in there prepared with a curtain over it, and they're gonna surprise the Count.
Yeah. Before we get to that, Renfield is at the party, and according to Renfield, he was invited, and I think it was either Dr. Seward's idea, just so in case they find out that he might be the vampire. I don't know. Don't care.
Renfield had no idea why he was there.
Yeah, but dear old Dracula has a suspicion.
It's funny. I got a funny feeling about this. Hey,
yeah.
Him and Harrison Ford, hey.
Yeah, and he thinks that if they get discovered, they must flee. So he suggests that he moved his coffin to abandoned chapel on the top of a hill somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not important where at this point. So anyway, they do an awesome dance number again. This is pretty awesome.
He's very good. See, I told you he's a good dancer.
Yeah, of course. When they do remove the mirror and everyone sees that Mina is dancing on her own.
And
they think they're doing an awesome job, so they decide to turn up the chorus to get the band to play something a little bit more faster.
Really, really, really good dance. And they're really going, really like ballroom dancing, really great.
Yeah.
But in the mirror, she's doing it by herself.
Yeah, I thought the bits where really she's either flying for the air looks so cool.
A bit of blue screen, a green screen or something. Oh, yeah. Really good. Goes a long way.
And some of the scenes where she's either... where she's dancing alone, I imagine that was just done by a good actress or her acting to make it. Or it
could have been a guy dressed up head to foot in blue and did a green screen or a blue screen or whatever you're going to do. And, whatever.
Yeah, but some actors would often use their good body, texture. But if they know how to concentrate their body from falling down when they're doing it, in some scenes. Like when you went into a bow. That's not so bad easily.
Well, but depending on how far the bow is and stuff, So you can lose your balance and end up on the floor, Anyway, get over it.
Dracula then notices the mirror and he looks at Van Helsing and says, "You are a very wise man from someone who hasn't lived a single lifetime."
Yeah.
And then he picks up a table and then he throws it at the mirror.
That'll give him 7 years bad luck, won't it?
As if Dracula had that many years left. Anyway, he then seizes Mina and he heads towards the window, and where Ravenfield yells out, "Master, Master," and then he changes it to Mister, Mister.
Mister.
And he gets hurled off to the sanatorium while Jonathan, Dr. Seward and Van Helsing, they went off in search for Mina and Dracula before it's too late. But they searched Carfax Abbey from head to toe and there's no sign of them. So they have no left opportunity, they have little choice left but to release Renfield in order to follow him to wherever Dracula might be hiding.
Yeah, he'll go to his master.
So they make a point of getting the orderly to release him, unknown to him, and he tries to outsmart them, but in a silly comedistic way. I won't go into details. And he then heads off to the chapel, and with the others following behind. And of course, they eventually arrive, and dear old Dracula strangles Renfield, but not to death or anything like that, but it's in a funny way. And he then hurls him down the stairs, and then he heads up to the attic where he plans on biting Mina in order to turn her completely into a vampire. If that's the word.
No hickeys. Yeah.
Okay, then the guys enter the chapel, and they run up the stairs, they start trying to break down the door.
And they do. They're very successful.
And then Jonathan, using his mighty wits and hands, tries to beat Dracula if he can.
They have a big fight anyway. Yeah.
And it's hilarious, this scene, especially how the Shadow tries to make a quick getaway.
Yeah, the Shadow tries to run away. That's. I told you that Shadow does a few things by itself.
Yeah, and of course, Jonathan tries to fight Dracula, but eventually snaps the stake he had into two.
How rude.
And he tries to strangle him, and fortunately he says, "You dare mortal, shall destroy you, and I won't be able to stop me from possessing you."
Yada, yada, yada.
And dear old Jonathan, using his only weapon, his two fingers, and stab him in the
just like the Three Stooges.
ears. I mean the eyes. Of course, Jonathan, but Dracula gets the upper hand by stepping on him, or standing on his chest, and says, "I shall consummate my marriage with your beloved Mina," yada yada.
Consummate, that's a good word, isn't it?
By biting into her. Anyway.
Yummy, yummy.
And then we notice a bit of sunlight appearing through the window. And
so Van Helsing opens the blinds.
Yeah, and then as he's opening them, and the lights start striking dear old Dracula, he looks like roadkill in this next scene.
He's starting to get burnies.
Yeah, and then he transforms into a bat, and
he flies up to the rafters to get away from the sun.
Yeah.
What a good move, he thought.
Yeah, and then we see Renfield on
the roof. And he opens up the roof to say, "Hey, here I am, master." And lo and behold, he's in full view of the sun, and he's getting a nice tan.
And he falls.
And he says, "Renfield, you bastard!" And he collapses to the ground.
No, actually, he didn't say bastard. He said asshole.
Asshole, whatever.
It's still
asshole. And he fell to the floor as a bat, mind you. And there's a little pile of ashes there.
Yeah, and Mina has finally revived she's
Hey, Jonathan, I feel better now.
Yeah, and they embrace and out the door, and Renfield appears, and he takes his master's ashes and puts them inside the coffin.
And he makes a little smiley face on it, says, "Oh, you're looking better already, master."
Yeah, and then Dr. Seward says that Renfield is his own man, and he's no longer controlled. But unfortunately,
he says, "Yeah, oh great, yes, I'm free."
But unfortunately, he still thinks like Renfield. I mean, like creepy Renfield.
Dr. Seward says, "Come, Renfield."
Yes, master.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Talk about idiot.
We don't work. Let's put him back in the nut house.
And then Van Helsing, as he's brushing his hat off, says, as he is about to leave the chapel, he says, "Bushka."
Yeah, one last word. However, right at the end of the credits,
post-credit, whatever.
Right at the end of the credits, you hear Dracula's voice go, whatever he says,
Yeah, meaning he's got the final word.
He got the last word, and even though he's dead. You can't keep a good man down.
Or bad man. The end.
Yeah, fade to black. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Well, technically, we already fade to black.
Whatever. Black and whatever. Okay, not much to talk about in this one. Okay, principal photography began in May 95 and was wrapped in September 95. It took place, filming took place from, it's crazy. It says, principal photography began in May 1995 and wrapped in 1995. Filming took place between May 8 and July 26. Unless I mean the post-editing was finished in September. Yeah. Whatever. I didn't write the notes. I just copied from the computer. Now, it was all done at Culver Studios in California. Okay, how's that? Now, getting back on it, Mel Brooks has made a lot of movies, and I I don't think I've ever been disappointed in any of his movies or TV shows. However, this one I did like. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I'm not going to say it could have been better. It's just that the reviewers didn't like it, and the paying public didn't like it, probably because they needed a bit more like Young Frankenstein. And I haven't seen Young Frankenstein for years. I need to go and have a look at it to compare it. So there might have been more belly laughs in Young Frankenstein and some of the other movies of that time that Mel's been doing. Having said that, you can't always have belly laughs in movies. You can't always spoon feed the public, the audience, saying, "Here, here's another funny thing, have a nice chuckle. How about think about what's going on, pay attention, and get your own jollies?"
Yeah, I mean, I would rather try to find reference points in how many reference points they had used in this movie.
Yeah, but anyway, But what I'm saying is, we've reviewed a lot of movies, and I've got a lot of movies in my archives here. I've got movies that said, "Oh, this is supposed to be a comedy," and I've watched it. It's not a comedy. It's a melodrama, maybe. It's certainly not a comedy. There's nothing funny in it.
That's the thing about...
And this is funnier than those, and those other movies got good ratings.
Yeah, that's the thing about Mel Brooks. As I said before,
he
he has a different type of comedy, unlike other people.
You have subtle comedy, and you have in-your-face comedy.
Like what we've discussed in the past. Like you have your English comedy, you know, the Dad's Army and other types of comedy that are not that they do give you a few jokes here hidden, but at the same time it's still it's not a complete
that's not a comedy. It's not a comedy. It is a comedy show, but it's not comedy all the way through it. Little one-liners, someone doing something weird, but it's not full of belly laughs all the way through. Whereas Americans, I believe, from what I've seen in a lot of the TV shows, they expect a lot more laughs.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's just a thing from different countries and what they're used to getting. I don't know.
American comedies are like, you know, they would often say a funny joke here and there, or maybe a funny story.
You're missing a point. You're missing what I just said. English humour is more subtle and not in your face. And I believe the American humour is a bit more served up once they actually see the humour.
Yeah.
So it's a different style of humour.
I see.
Yeah, that's all it is. So if you get something like an English comedy, might not make too much sense or appeal to Americans because their sense of comedy is different. The same way as maybe an American comedy may not appeal to all Brits.
True.
Because they've got a different style of humour and say, well, it's too much over the top, that's too subtle. You see, they're not quite the same. And we're sort of in the middle there somewhere.
Yeah.
We watch American movies and American movies.
Yeah,
and
that's the interesting
English,
thing
American
about
stuff and European and blah blah. Yeah.
I do wonder where Mel Brooks fits on all in this. I mean, I know he's done it in America, say several times.
He's got Jewish heritage.
I know.
It comes from a European sense of acting and humour and stuff from his ethnic background. So, yes, there are a lot of Jews in England. There's a lot of Jewish people in America. But depending how deep they go into their own culture when they're digging up ideas for humour. Yeah,
it's just his side of comedy is different from other people's comedy in America.
He's really funny. But you look at something like Maxwell Smart.
Yes.
It wasn't funny all the way through. It was improbable. There was funny little things happening, a bit of slapstick thrown into it. You weren't belly laughing all the way through the show, but I could watch Get Smart over and over and over again.
Maxwell Smart, Secret Agent 86.
And that sort of stuff. So, different style of humour, and it works. Mel's a really, really good producer, director, writer. So I'm not going to get on the bandwagon and say I agree or disagree with the critics and everybody else, because the critics didn't like it because they thought it was a bit lame. They wanted more comedy in it. I thought it was funny. Yes, it wasn't in your face. It wasn't big chuckle belly laugh sort of stuff. Different style of comedy. Yeah, and black comedy. It's always black comedies aren't always belly laughs. Okay, you look at some of your station movies; they're actually said to be black comedies. Some of those.
Yeah, some of them are.
But no one's laughing. So, it's different style of humour. They say, it's comedy. Well, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a total comedy.
Yeah, if you look at some of the Friday the 13th movies, there's a bit of chuckles here and there.
But it's not belly laughs.
But it's still horror.
It's subtle.
Yeah.
A little bit of snicker here, snicker there, that sort of stuff. And that's it's made a little bit of lightheartedness to offset the not so good stuff, the jump scares and stuff. So there's a balance, and the same thing here, a little bit of humour. It's really a gothic horror drama with some comedy thrown in. Really, to me, the only way the way Mel Brooks can do it, and it came over to me as a good presentation.
Yeah, my only disappointment is that I just wish that there was another Mel Brooks type comedy director out there. I mean, the ones that in America, they continue to absorb the globe war around the world. Well, like, it's the only thing out there at the moment. It seems like that's the only kind of comedy that you may see out there. Sure, the British would, the people in England, they'd still do films and do the odd ha-ha joke here and there for some TV series and movies. But other than that, they're more serious on doing serious movies.
Their comedy's almost like a melodrama.
Yeah.
Just brought up a notch.
Because I haven't seen another Are You Being Served or Dad's Army.
That's period stuff.
I know it's period stuff,
you can't do that now. It won't work.
It seems these days that's non-existent these days.
Yeah, but you may not face. So America makes damn fine movies. I know you've got some good people out there listening who are Americans, and I do like American movies. I do like American comedies, as well as dramas, sci-fis, horror, you got it. But I don't like every movie that comes out of America, and I don't like every movie that comes out of England. I don't like every movie that comes out of Europe. I don't necessarily like everyone that comes out of Australia, and I live here. But it depends on one's taste as well. And
that's what I like about either a new comedy that's not necessary like every single bit has to be a slight joke, or every scene has to have a skit bit, or.
I don't want to get into the making of a comedy movie.
No, me neither.
But I can just use it for an example. Okay.
Yeah.
If you look at a sitcom like Two and a Half Men and the Golden Girls, they were half-hour shows, and they put a lot of laughs in those shows, served up to make people laugh.
True.
Okay? Improbable situations, really corny stuff, weird lines, really great, fantastic. Everyone had a great time. Oh, that's funny. But every comedy movie is not like that.
True.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons.
Leave it alone now.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I feel bad that Jim Carrey is retiring this year. I mean, we don't have to.
Jim Carrey.
He is.
Is he? I don't know.
Along with Bruce Willis.
Bruce got health issues.
Yeah, his health issues will make him hard to continue having a career.
I think whatever he's got. I read something about whatever he's got has got. Affects him a little bit, not so much.
Affects.
He can't remember his lines and stuff.
That's what I mean. He can't string a full sentence together.
Properly,
even if it's for a movie or TV show. Well, not more movie. I mean, considering.
But, I mean, it's really sad because I did like what Bruce Willis in his like his first start off in was it Moonlighting? Moonlighting? Yeah, Moonlighting TV show, and then he got into his action movies and stuff, and Die Hards, and I love it. Yeah, he's a good actor. Yeah.
And now that Jim Carrey's going to hang up the acting towel,
hang his mask up.
That it's kind of going to be sad because he's the last ever. Well, not last. I mean, there were a few other comedy actors, but his acting has striked different audiences.
You've got a point there. I don't want to talk too long on this. Each decade, or 2 decades, or whatever, each generation, you find a different group of actors come on the scene. And they do make, their presence felt. Now, you got your Jim Carreys, you got your Steve Martins, you got people like that. And they make Adam Sandler, just to mention a few. And they make interesting movies, and their interpretation of humour or you get somebody like who's doing a serious movie, like Harrison Ford doing an action movie or something, or Bruce Willis we're just talking about. And then turn around, these people go after about 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, and all of a sudden...
With all these melons.
Well, no, he said, well, who's next?
Yeah.
But you look at it, the olden days, you had Douglas Fairbanks back in the old silent days. And then Douglas Fairbanks Jr. came along, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And then these guys did the action movies, and then other people took over from them along the way. Another action guy. There's always someone going to take their place. Whether they're going to be as good as, better, who knows? You just want to wait and see. It's I mean, you can't say, all the good old actors. Well, some of the old actors weren't all that good.
I know, but
they're memorable.
But they're memorable.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey has always been memorable, just like Robin Williams is memorable. And we're running out of people that can fill those.
Yeah, but the new
areas.
ones are coming in, and like I said, the problem is we have to change with the industry a bit too, because
I agree.
The humour that was back in the early talkie days. Back in the 30s, whatever. When they started, the humour was pretty pathetic. It was, I wouldn't say it was bad, but by today's standard, it was corny. It's all changed. Now, everything changed because we were getting more sophisticated. We want different things out of comedies and horror movies and dramas.
Yeah.
See, dramas aren't that important anymore.
Yeah.
Drama movies, film noir type stuff. A lot of that stuff wouldn't hold its own now because people want slasher movies or comedy or something else and blah blah. They want something else in there apart from a straight drama.
True.
Yeah, they want some action in there or something to break it down a little bit. Break the it's a nice movie, but nothing's happening in it. No, there is something happening. You got to pay attention to the words. So
it's just like
and everything changes.
Yeah, and these days they try to cast the straight actors using the ones who do more ordinary movies and try to pass them off into comedy, and and maybe some of them do pull it off.
Some do,
but other times it doesn't.
You look at Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
When he first started, you would not think, that guy, and I'm not knocking him, who could hardly speak English properly.
No doubt.
He's English speaking, but from a film perspective, he's doing his Conan movies. Well, he did have a great speaking voice for doing straight movies. And you think, would he get into serious movies? Comedy? Well, he did. He's in quite a few comedies. Danny DeVito Jr. was a good one. That was funny. Jingle All the Way. Would you expect that when he first started? No way in the world. So, a lot of guys are versatile. Leslie Nielsen started off as a straight actor.
True.
Lloyd Bridges. Jeff Bridges' dad. He started off doing TV stuff like Sea Hunt, just straight ordinary acting, and he got into doing comedy roles. So, they're versatile. That's all. They're good at it. So, if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't.
Yeah, it seems like we're trying to find something that's remains unknown to the world.
Well, it's there. You just got to experiment. That's why you call it. That's why you get a screen test.
And that's probably one of the reasons why so many of the movies I've been viewing lately, the newer ones, are all streamed on these Netflix types, stream sites, and most of them are not coming to big theaters, even if they're really good storylines and stuff like that.
The problem is, I'm not knocking Netflix or any of the other platforms. They're there now, and I'd say the COVID, when that came out, in a lot of countries, they had to actually close the cinemas. So what happened then is the only way to distribute the films was on places like Netflix and whatever, and do direct-to-DVDs and stuff. And we are missing some stuff which could have been going to the theatres, which is actually going straight to the platforms.
Yeah, I feel like every time I look at new movies, there's something missing. I just don't know what it is. It could be comedy. It could have been a mixture of things that they never bothered to put into a movie. Yeah, I mean, it's just like when we did the X movie. I feel like something is missing. I can't really figure it out.
Well, sometimes it's conviction. You know what I mean?
Explain.
Well, conviction. I mean, no one's totally what's the word? The best way to explain. you have to be focused on what you're doing. I want this to happen. I believe in this project. It's going to happen. But if people say, okay, we're going to make a movie. It's going to be so and so or other. But no one's totally dedicated to it.
Yeah.
It shows in the end production.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, guys, whenever you go to a movie, whether it's on Netflix or on or in the movies, you're always noticing something off. Whether it's something like one of the characters being absent or something, and you think, why is this person absent? There must be a reason, because there's a lot of holes in a production.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought now that we've gotten over the holes, I thought we might be able to somehow make this tie the story up when you think about it, without the holes.
Yeah, but there's always going to be holes in movies, depending who's making the movie. Okay?
Of course, I keep thinking that there's reason for it.
Enough.
Anyway, could we look at the reviews from these nasty people?
No.
Please?
I just said they're crap.
Please? I would like to hear one of them. At least two would not hurt.
You won't like it.
I'm fine. I'm okay to negotiate.
What I'll do. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'll read the first part of it. Okay. Critical reception to Dracula, Dead and Loving It, was overwhelmingly negative, with the film earning a rotten rating of only 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 36 reviews. Well, that's not an overwhelming vote of confidence, and nor is it a good cross-section of the community. It's only 36 people who voted on it. With an average rating of 3.1 out of 10. The site's consensus is lacking any of the comedic bite that audience have come to expect from a Mel Brooks farce. This vampire parody just plain old sucks. Do you want me to read the other ones?
Well, I'll read one more. It will not hurt.
Some of them are just long, that's all. Okay.
Well, a long one could be good. Could be good for the soul.
Joe Layden from Variety wrote, Leslie Nielsen top lines to agreeable effect as Count Dracula, depicted here as a dead serious but frequently flustered fellow who's prone to slipping on bat droppings in his Baroque castle. Trouble is, while Dead and Loving It earns a fair share of grins and giggles, it never really cuts loose and goes for the belly laughs. It wasn't that sort of movie. That's okay, right.
Okay, I get the picture.
Now, wait. Compared with the recent glut of Dumb, Dumber and Dumbest comedies, Brooks' pick seems positively understated. People wanting more. Okay? Okay. Indeed. There isn't much here that would have seemed out of place or too tasteless in comedy sketches for TV variety shows in the 50s. So he's saying, that's a bit of a negative sort of comment. Okay? As a result, unfortunately, Dead and Loving It is so mild, it comes perilously close to blandness.
What's blandness?
Boring.
Oh.
The only real sparks are set off by McNichol as Renfield, the solicitor who develops a taste for flies and spiders after being bitten by Dracula. So that's it. I mean, they're just knocking the production. It didn't shape up to what the market was expecting when it was released. How's that?
Man.
Right.
Talk about kicking at a horse when it's fallen down.
No, there's nothing wrong. I don't know where you get these sayings from, my dear, but it didn't kick anything. The point is that nobody liked the movie because it wasn't what they were expecting at the time. Mel Brooks had done funnier movies. This one wasn't quite as funny, so I said, oh, it's a crap movie. Well, it's not a crap movie. And that's the point. That's the point is nobody said it's a good movie, so nobody went to the theatre.
Well, we did when we were younger.
You must see what I'm saying. If the reviewers in the newspaper say it's a bag of crap, pardon the language, who's going to go to the pictures? Who's going to go to the theatre to see it? Nobody. That's what I'm saying. So if the reviewers didn't like it, and the word says, "Oh, it's not one of his better movies," well, people say, "I'll give it a wide berth. I'll go see something else."
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
I'm only glad years ago when I was younger, I would not listen to reviews in the newspapers.
I don't listen to reviews at all.
Except for the when it comes down to Facebook or social media, they continue throwing the stuff like it was. Well, like in our style, and even though I don't ask for it, it still happens.
The only time I read anything about a movie is to find out what the story's about. If it sounds like it's a movie I would like, I will watch it. I don't care about someone else's review because their taste isn't my taste. Now, having said this, I wouldn't say this is his best movie either. It's a good Mel Brooks movie, but it's not one of his better movies. So, having said that, I'll grade it accordingly later.
Yeah, well, I did notice that there were some added differences in the other movies.
It's something, like Blazing Saddles, I think, is great, and other things like that, Men in Tights, it's a totally different style of movie, totally different storyline. It's a gothic horror, but yeah, whatever, we've been there. Moving right along. There's plenty for sale on eBay. Amazon's only got it rentable from what I can see, but other platforms and other places should have it. Now, getting back to the grading, I'm going to give it an 8. I would have given it a little bit more, but I think, maybe it was a little bit lacking in some things there, but it's still a damn good movie. It's worth a watch. I like it.
Yeah, same here.
But it's only about an 8 for me.
I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10 myself.
Ooh, you're good and generous, aren't you?
Well, I do think that it has something there that's really cool, and I like the fact they used the original Bela Lugosi type story a little bit.
Well, if they follow that storyline as a parody, and then they just change a few things.
Like some of the bits, like they're kind of mostly tok 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 tok, and just filled it in with some interesting scenes, like the Dance of Love, or the blood bit.
Why would your viewers go and actually watch it?
Because in the original Bela Lugosi Dracula movie, you never see Lucy ever get staked. In fact, we barely even see what happens to her. Well, yeah, we do see what happens to her. Like, she does turn into a vampire and stalks and kills, say, a few children along the way. But we don't know what happens to her.
I know how she feels. Will you finish?
I just mean that story had a hole in it, a big one, and it didn't even explain whether if you kill a vampire, would that mean all the things that he created would die with him?
It's some stories about vampire lore say if you killed the maker, if you killed number one, the first one,
yes,
all the other ones will die. The control factor, their incarnation of the living dead, that dies, that finishes because it's all connected back to the original. And some stories say the other way around. It doesn't matter, you can kill the original, but the other ones still exist. So I don't know.
Unless somehow the filmmakers didn't want to show Dracula or Lucy getting staked. That's why in the original we see Van Helsing stake Dracula, but we just hear, while in another shot, Jonathan just wandering around trying to find Mina, and we just hear "ooh," meaning Dracula was just staked.
Well, yeah.
Meaning we don't see it.
You don't need to see it. Look, everyone goes to the toilet. Do you need to see everyone go to the toilet in the movie? No. Okay, right.
But I gotta admit though, it did leave back then it didn't reveal too much. So anyway, I guess I think that's.
Well, we're getting a bit long like normal.
Yeah. So I guess now that Mike's told you guys where to find it, so I'll let you guys be the judge as per usual to figure out if it's worth a watch.
It's a good watch. It's not his funniest movie, because I don't think it was meant to be that funny when he actually made it. It's a parody of an existing movie.
Yeah, I think the whole point of his movies is that they're not all the same. They have to be different.
See, Blazing Saddles was a standalone type movie. I think he actually wrote the script and everything. It wasn't based on anything.
Yeah, and the same I could say for...
You made it as funny as you like. Robin Hood Men in Tights, same thing.
Yeah, and Spaceballs. Quite different.
Totally different, Great.
The one thing interesting in both History of the World and Spaceballs, they keep saying that there might be a sequel, but they never bothered to do that.
No, Well, somewhat. They've got these History of the World. Was there going to be rabbis in space or something? One of those things as well.
Or Jews in space.
And nothing had happened, obviously. Maybe he thought better of it.
Yeah, that one I guess was probably an idea from Star Wars. I think.
Anyway. Gotta go.
All right. Thanks for watching our latest episode, everyone, and we'll talk to you guys again next time. So, see you guys around. Bye for now.
Toodles. Bye.
Good seeing, guys. Bye.